Typhoon Kalmaegi, the world's deadliest tropical storm of 2025, struck the central Philippines on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, wreaking massive destruction across Cebu Province and its surrounding areas. With winds reaching 149 kilometers per hour and extreme rainfall, Kalmaegi triggered flash floods, landslides, and widespread infrastructure damage. Typhoon Kalmaegi began battering the central Philippines, particularly Cebu Island, with great intensity. Heavy rains and strong winds caused rivers to overflow, sweeping away homes, vehicles, and large shipping containers. Cebu Province became the epicenter of the devastation. Liloan Town, near the capital Cebu City, experienced unprecedented flash flooding. Cars piled up, houses swept away, and bodies were found in various locations. 35 bodies were recovered in Liloan alone. The flooding also damaged bridges, roads, and power lines. Thousands of homes were destroyed or severely damaged. Residents were forced to flee to emergency shelters, many of which lacked food, clean water, and medicine. President Marcos Jr. declared a state of emergency, allowing the government to bypass normal bureaucratic procedures to expedite relief efforts. He also warned of the potential for another approaching storm. The Philippine Office of National Civil Defense recorded 114 official deaths, not including 28 additional casualties reported by local authorities in Cebu. More than 260,000 people have been evacuated to safety. Humanitarian organizations such as the Philippine Red Cross and the World Food Program have begun distributing relief supplies, food, and medical supplies. However, access to affected areas remains hampered by damaged infrastructure. After devastating the Philippines, Kalmaegi moved westward and made landfall in Vietnam on Thursday, November 6. The Vietnamese government canceled hundreds of flights, closed 6 airports, and urged residents to stay indoors. Waves as high as 10 meters hit Vietnam's central coast, forcing mass evacuations. Drone footage showed catastrophic flooding that turned streets into rivers, submerged homes, and overturned cars as Typhoon Kalmaegi, known locally as Tino, dumped more than a month's worth of rain in only 24 hours in some areas. In Tbilisi City, rows of homes were flattened and communities along the Manana River were buried in mud and debris. In Cebu City, and rescue workers could be seen wading through waist-deep water to free trapped residents from roofs and submerged homes. We don't have any home anymore. We weren't able to salvage anything from our house. Mili Sabrin, 52, from Tbilisi told Reuters news agency. We didn't expect the surge of rain and wind. We've experienced many typhoons, but this one was different. Our homes were gone. Another survivor in Cebu City said the floodwaters quickly rushed in, and they had no time to gather belongings. I've been living here for almost 16 years, and it was the first time I've experienced the flooding, said Marlon Enriquez. The Philippines is no stranger to typhoons, and Kalmaegi was the 20th named storm to impact the country this year, according to local officials. Though not the strongest storm to hit, it was slow-moving and dumped huge volumes of water over highly populated areas. Officials said most people died from drowning. Nearby Leyte and northern parts of Mindanao, both populous islands in the center of the country, saw between 150 and 250 millimeters, 6 to 10 inches of rain in only 24 hours, well above the typical monthly rainfall for November. On Cebu, the rugged terrain funneled water straight into communities that lack sufficient drainage. Wind speed is often what the public focuses on, and it is in fact how meteorologists categorize these systems. But water is almost always the #1 killer, said meteorologist Taylor Ward. The impact of the storm was worsened by clogged waterways in an already flood-prone area and an apparent lack of understanding of early warnings. Bernardo Rafael Ito Alejandro IV, Deputy Administrator for the Philippines Office of Civil Defense, told local media. "We need to check how we issue our early warnings and translate it into actions," he said. Alejandro also called for the building of better and bigger drainage systems and resilient infrastructure that can withstand the threats of more intense storms fueled by climate change. "We need to rethink how we build our megacities and improve on our resiliency," he added. The Philippines is one of Asia's most flood-prone countries, but this year it has also been mired in a massive corruption scandal involving flood control projects that have brought thousands of protesters out onto the streets. Dozens of legislators, senators, and construction companies have been accused of receiving kickbacks with money that was supposed to go toward establishing thousands of flood control projects. Kalmaegi will weaken to a tropical storm as it tracks farther inland from central Vietnam before moving on to northern Cambodia, Laos, and eastern Thailand through Friday, local time. Around 350,000 people were expected to be evacuated from central Vietnam's Gia Lai province, according to Reuters. The typhoon comes as the region struggles to recover from devastating flooding last week that submerged historical sites, including the ancient town of Hoi An. At least 13 people were killed and over 116,000 houses and 5,000 hectares of crops flooded, Reuters reported, citing the government's disaster agency. Roads and railways were damaged and power disrupted in several areas. Usually packed with tourists wandering through the lantern-lit streets lined with iconic wooden houses and bustling markets. Images showed the UNESCO World Heritage listed Hoi An submerged in water and mud after record rainfall. The Western Pacific is the most active tropical basin on Earth, but global ocean temperatures have been at record levels for each of the last 8 years. Hotter oceans, fueled by human-caused global warming, provide ample energy for storms to strengthen. The climate crisis is supercharging rainfall events, like those seen in Vietnam and with Typhoon Kalmaegi, as warmer air can hold more moisture, which it then wrings out over towns, cities, and communities. In September, Typhoon Ragasa brought destructive winds and torrential rain to the Philippines, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and mainland China as the strongest storm in the region this year. Tino unleashed moderate to torrential rain and strong to destructive winds in the Visayas, portions of Mindanao, and several areas in southern Luzon. It made landfall 8 times, once in the provinces of southern Leyte, Cebu, Negros Occidental, Guimaras, and Iloilo, as well as thrice in Palawan, before finally leaving the Philippine area of responsibility on Thursday, November 6th. Bookmark this page for the latest news in the aftermath of the typhoon, including the situation in affected areas, government response, and relief efforts. The remains of 4 Philippine Air Force personnel killed in a chopper crash in Agusan del Sur are given departure honors in Davao City on November 6, 2025, before being flown to Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. The remains of 2 other crew members were also brought home to Zamboanga City and General Santos City. The Dinagat Islands provincial government has placed the province under a state of calamity following widespread damage from Typhoon Tino Kalmaegi. This came as the provincial board greenlit the recommendation of the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council and Governor Nilo Demiri Jr. to issue the declaration, which allows the capital to use reserve funds for disaster response, including relief aid. The capital said towns, particularly on the northern side of Dinagat Islands, suffered extensive damage to infrastructure, power, and communication systems, and experienced major disruptions to livelihood and basic services. Students from different universities in Dumaguete City organize a gig for a cause at the Pantawan People's Park on Thursday evening, November 6, 2025, to raise funds for victims of Typhoon Tino, Kalmaegi, in Canlaon City, Negros Oriental. The fundraising program is led by the altruistic and resilient establishers for Tomorrow's Efficiency Organization. Canlaon City is one of the hardest hit areas in Negros Island region with 12 reported deaths. In the upper areas of Compostela, Cebu, near the Catcat River, residents from last-mile villages say that Typhoon Tino brought more devastation to their community than the earthquake that shook the province in late September and 2021's Typhoon Odette. Rappelers John Sitchin reports. Residents of Barangay Catcat, Liloan, Cebu, returned to clean their homes on Thursday, November 6, 2025, after flooding caused by Typhoon Tino, Kalmaegi, submerged their community. Residents near Manana River, in front of Bridge 2, Talisi City, have resorted to using floodwater for their personal needs as they have had no access to clean water since Typhoon Tino hit. They shared that the river's size doubled after the typhoon hit their homes and that the flood control project in their area had never been completed. Meanwhile, the bodies of Airman Amir Kaidar Apian of Zamboanga City and Sergeant Eve Saijib of General Santos City were given departure honors in Davao City on November 6th, before being airlifted to their respective hometowns. The two were among the crew of the Philippine Air Force chopper that crashed in Agusan del Sur on November 4th. They were on a humanitarian mission to deliver aid to areas affected by Typhoon Tino. Around 68% of areas covered by the Visayas Electric Company have been re-energized as of 12 p.m. on Thursday, November 6th. Except for Liloan, power in all other cities and towns in Metro Cebu has been restored at more than 50%. Liloan's power restoration lags at 36.19%. The NDRRMC reported 82 injured persons, 69 from Cebu, 7 from Negros Occidental, 2 each from Leyte and Surigao del Norte, and 1 each from Surigao del Sur and Southern Leyte. The number of affected families is 544,081, equivalent to 1,951,546 persons residing in 5,089 barangays across 8 regions nationwide. As of this posting, 127,827 families are being sheltered in 4,933 evacuation centers, while another 36,752 families are being aided outside. In Barangay Canlapuas, residents have relied on the Our Lady of Salvation Church as a safe haven and evacuation center for years due to its elevation and sturdy structure. Barangay Captain Eduardo Villanueva said, "The church is on high ground and in the center, so people feel safe there." During Typhoon Tino, 219 evacuees spent the night at the church. Villanueva emphasized early evacuation as key, saying, "We moved people from flood-prone areas like Purok 1 and Purok 8 before nightfall. They had snacks and breakfast before going home the next morning." For evacuees like Enlin Soleo, 54, a resident of Purok 5, leaving her home was an act of self-preservation. "Our house shakes during storms, and the water rises quickly. It's important to follow authorities and evacuate early for our safety," she said, noting that a culture of preparedness has developed in the area over years of experiencing disasters. Despite its barangays across mainland, upland, and island areas, the city reported no major damage or rescues. Tagarino credited cooperation among agencies such as the Coast Guard, the Philippine National Police, and the Bureau of Fire Protection for effective coordination. "Our responders and volunteers were ready before, during, and after the typhoon," he said. Barangay Salanga, Maulong, and Payo, which are coastal and flood-prone areas, had the most affected individuals, 548, 513, and 303, respectively. All families returned home safely after the storm. With no casualties and swift camp closures, Catbalagan's proactive disaster measures serve as a model for community resilience, demonstrating that preparedness, not panic, saves lives, the city DRRM official said. Governor Damian Mercado issued Executive Order No. 54 on Thursday, formally declaring the province under a state of calamity after Tino's onslaught left significant damage to infrastructure, properties, and livelihoods across its capital city of Mason and 18 municipalities. According to the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, PDRRMC, over 40,328 residents were affected by the typhoon, while 2 fatalities were reported in St. Bernard Town. Initial reports from the Rapid Damage Assessment and Needs Analysis (RDANA) teams showed that Tino's strong winds and heavy rains caused widespread flooding, landslides, and destruction to homes and utilities. Mercado's order authorizes the provincial and local governments to utilize calamity funds, implement rescue, relief, and rehabilitation efforts, and coordinate with law enforcement agencies to maintain peace and order in affected areas. As of Thursday, the power supply has yet to be fully restored across southern Leyte, including in its capital city of Mason. Internet connection also remains unavailable in most parts of the province, hampering communication and disaster response coordination. Typhoon Tino struck the province under Tropical Cyclone Wind Signal No. 4 issued by Pagasa, bringing destructive winds and torrential rain that displaced hundreds of families and damaged key public facilities. Mercado said the declaration aims to speed up the delivery of basic services and assistance to affected communities as recovery and clearing operations continue. Canlaon has been placed under a state of calamity following a resolution passed by the City Council during its regular session on November 5th, after massive damage was reported in several barangays due to flooding and landslides caused by Typhoon Tino. Authorities are still conducting search and rescue operations for at least 11 missing persons, while the confirmed death toll has risen to 16, according to city officials. Mayor Jose Bachic Cardenas said city personnel have been working round the clock to clear roads, bridges, and waterways as part of ongoing recovery efforts and preparations for an incoming typhoon expected to enter the Philippine area of responsibility on Saturday, November 8th. In a Facebook post, Cardenas said the local government aims to complete all road clearing operations within 4 days to allow safe transport of relief goods and essential supplies into the city. He also noted that desilting operations in the Malaba River are a crucial part of flood mitigation efforts. Meanwhile, Malacanang announced on Thursday that Canlaon City is among the localities to receive P10 million in direct aid from the Office of the President to support relief and rehabilitation efforts. Local relief operations have intensified, with private groups and volunteers launching both online and on-site donation drives for affected residents. As of writing, communication lines remain unstable, and power supply has yet to be restored in most parts of the city. Officials said the immediate needs of affected families include clean water, food, and temporary shelter. Despite the city's ongoing challenges, Mayor Cardenas expressed optimism that the people of Canlaon will overcome the crisis.